Hi, welcome. Today we're going to talk about why I think the year 2023 is a great year to be selling sports cards. Now, quickly, I do want to highlight that I've changed the name from my channel from Hobby Business to US Sports Cards because on all other platforms, that's what I'm known as. So I have my eBay store, it's US Sports Cards, United States Sports Cards, what it's called. I can put the link in the description below, and you can check it out if you'd like. On Twitter, I'm also US Sports Cards, so you see my logo is United States Sports Cards. But the Hobby Business channel is going to be renamed this moving forward for proper alignment. So, what do I mean when I say that this is the year to be selling sports cards? I do want to say that, full disclosure, I sell sports cards, so I'm biased in that sense. But what I'm going to try to present today is a case for why I'm going to not only continue selling sports cards in 2023, but why I'm accelerating and growing my store to keep selling sports cards in 2023. So I'm going to highlight a couple of reasonings here and kind of pieces of news that have come across my desk and my thoughts on it. So today, the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, sent a letter to the congressional leadership, and there's a quote in here. The full text is available on the Treasury website in PDF form, and it's in relation to the debt limit. But this quote right here really jumps out at me that I highlighted. So Treasury Secretary Yellen wrote that failure to meet the government's obligations would cause irreparable harm to the U.S. economy, the livelihoods of all Americans, and global financial stability. So if politicians don't agree upon raising the debt limit and with the debt ceiling and global chaos ensues, that's a negative for the financial markets. It's a negative for people's everyday pocket, and that could have an impact on sports cards. I don't like putting any hope and faith in politicians to do the right thing in terms of as it relates to sports cards marketplace, right? These are big time, large decisions that could have or would have other economic ripples. JP Morgan came out today and with their fourth quarter earnings release, and there was a couple of things that I took from the story that I read about their earnings release that I want to kind of highlight. So they're quoted in the CNBC article as saying that the mild recession is now central case. So the quotes that I'm going to pull from the story, they're talking about like how they're coming up with their forecast and their thought process. But this quote here really stood out to me: that modest deterioration in the firm's macroeconomic outlook, now reflecting a mild recession in the central case. So that mild recession is still a recession. Further on in the article, it said the recession in which U.S. unemployment could reach 4.9% is expected by JP Morgan economists. So any increase in unemployment means that people are losing jobs. When you're losing jobs, you're not typically going out and spending on money on things like sports cards, right? Inflation. So those are kind of like global macroeconomic stories that influence this thinking. Today I found this U.S. inflation chart, not charts, more like an infographic, I guess, but it looked at this past year of 2022 and what was the 12-month percentage change for different goods and services. School lunches up 254% for elementary and secondary schools. Lots of schools had free or reduced lunches during the pandemic, where families did not have to pay for school lunches, and that program has gone away for lots of schools. So an increased cost from 2021 to 2022 for folks. Fuel oil up 65%, eggs up 49%. There's a lot of talk about eggs and massive bird flu that's happening in 2022. I'm not going to go through all of these, but just things that let's kind of pick out, look a little bit, things that you use every day. Your butter up 35%. Public transportation, so folks that are relying upon transportation are continuing to see fare increases. So that's 25% is nothing to sneeze at. And gasoline up 10% is bread up 50%. So in terms of just the general cost of things moving higher, that puts strain on people's budgets. Here's a long-term view of the CPI. So this line, as you see, with right here being 0, down here being -2 in terms of it. You can start all the way back. This is a 10-year graph that I pulled from tradingeconomics.com, the U.S. Inflation CPI. You can see it's plugging along, bumps up, bumps down. And then last year we saw that massive ramp up, okay? And so regardless of where this continues to go, if we keep seeing inflation go down, or if we do, see a increase at any point in time, the memory of 2022 is going to be could impact people's spending, and especially on things like sports cards. So those are the last story here that I think could impact kind of the economy of sports cards is related to actually grading cards, graded cards. So from Sports Collectors Daily, and I've seen the data put out by GemRate. He was the gentleman who does GemRate was on Hobby Hotline last Saturday. Good show. He explained lots of the data and his processes. So that was interesting. But you hear a lot that between PSA, SGC, CSG, and Beckett that they graded nearly 15 million items. So 15 million graded cards. But of those 15 million cards, 9.5 million were sports cards. So that means that in the year 2022, almost 10 million graded sports cards had been encapsulated and graded and are entering the marketplace. That's a lot to continue to absorb over time. So, my thought process is the more and more graded cards that are available for sale, the more people might gravitate towards buying graded cards. But also it could suppress the prices of graded cards as well as raw cards. That's kind of the big picture of why I think the economic stories that are impacting my thought process as we start off 2023. Thinking about the different large content creators, you've seen a shift over the last couple of weeks of, the larger channels. I don't want to name them because I'm not calling people out in any, negative way here. It's just a shift in tone. You're starting to see more of their focus turn to, learning how to sell on COMC or selling more. And so as the tone shifts at the macro hobby level of people focusing more on selling than buying, that could accelerate more and more people to sell. And like any marketplace, if there's more people selling and fewer people buying, that has impact. So why do I think that 2023 is a good year to continue, not only to continue selling sports cars, but to really ramp up? I remember when growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, thinking that cards were fun and I enjoyed them and you spent money on them, but it wasn't substantial amounts of money. It wasn't huge, big dollars like you're seeing today. But you did think, and it seemed like you were conditioned to think that these cards were going to continue to hold some sort of value. And what we then saw was a massive decrease in the value of the cards from the junk wax era or the max wax era, as time went on. People that thought sports cars were investments ended up hoarding cases and cases of, unopened product that decreased in value and did not hold their value. So I have that institutional or individual memory of, I've always enjoyed my collection. I've always, enjoyed looking through the cards I collected as a kid and have picked up over my time. So it always had some emotional value. But I remember, I could pick out a box 10 years ago and flip through it, and you wouldn't necessarily see like monetary value in the cards. Well, now there's been so many advancements in selling platforms that there's lots of options to sell cards. So like I said, I have an eBay store, and I have grown my eBay store from the end of really from the beginning of December. I was around 6,400 cards listed for sale, and at last check, as of today, I have, let's see, I'll give you a live update. As of today, I have 22,697 cards for sale in my eBay store. And I spent a significant amount of time over the last month and a half really ramping up and utilizing some tools that I'll talk more about in future videos. I acquired a Fujitsu feed scanner, and I have subscribed for the Car Dealer Pro software, and I've had great success. Love both of them. I have lessons learned from both of them that I'm going to release on a future video here to break them down to more specifics. But one thing that I still think one of the biggest revelatory, like kind of revolutionary inventions of the last couple of years in the hobby happened in 2021, and eBay's standard envelope. This is the headline that I think we really haven't quite digested yet. The eBay standard envelope program, where you can ship PWE with tracking for low dollar cards, is a game changer for the sports card industry. And when you couple the standard envelope program with a scanner and utilizing a software like Car Dealer Pro, or there's other ones out there as well, I think as people continue to learn about the tools and inflation and economic challenges and employment challenges and continue to all come together and roll around, I think there's a case to be made that if you have sports cards that you want to be selling long term, maybe start thinking about the short term. One of the things that we saw on Sports Collectors Digest, they did a top 40 eBay sports card sales of 2022. The top one, the number one most expensive sports card that was sold was 1986-87 Fleer Michael Jordan PSA 10 for $213,000 and $213,040 on 209 bids. Now, to me, I will never play in that range. If I ever had $213,000 to spend on something, I would not spend it on a sports card. I would spend it on a house. But that's just my full mentality. What it does show is that there are still lots of larger dollar sales. However, I was kind of surprised that the largest eBay sale was $213,000 when it comes to sports cards. A lot of times the news is about the record-setting, Mantle prices, or the record-setting Honus Wagner card, and those are in the millions of dollars. But those all aren't taking place on, eBay type platforms. And so I think, I think there's multiple neighborhoods when it comes to the hobby and the economics of the hobby. I will never, and I have zero desire to ever own a card that's $10,000, $20,000 and up. Like, I just don't have a desire for that. My desire is to have cards that I enjoy, buy cards, and I like to buy cards in bulk, buy collections, and then break them up, list them in my store, and have those cards find new homes for $2, $3, $4. And I enjoy that. I like that. I like the idea of single cards going to a collector that wants them, and they pay a couple bucks. It's a win-win all the way around. And so for me, I'm going to keep ramping up my store. I've got some creative things in the works in the coming days and weeks, and I'm excited for you to see that. But I think we will continue to see content creators make the shift towards selling more sports cards, and that could have a snowball effect. So if you're somebody that's nimble and has the ability to have inventory of cards that you don't want to keep anymore, and you'd like to raise some money, I would suggest giving it a try. Set up an eBay store, take advantage of the free listings. I started doing this with a small photo box. This was my first upgrade, was to move from a photo box. I used to do things with just the overhead light and a piece of construction paper and a card, taking pictures of a card laying down on it. But now I've moved into using artificial intelligence software from Card Dealer Pro, a Fujitsu feed scanner, which I bought refurbished from the website Back Market. They have refurbished technology. I don't need brand new stuff. I can use refurbished things for everything, and I'm happy with it. But that's my thought process here. We are going to continue to see economic challenges that could put pressure on sports cards. And then once people start selling sports cards, there can be some momentum that keeps going that way. The sports card hobby is buyers, sellers, and traders. And so I like to buy, I like to sell, I like to trade, and I enjoy all three. And the year 2023, I hope to really ramp up my store. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I'm able to make you think about kind of a nugget here or a nugget there that might make some sense or challenge what we might be seeing out in the general hobby video space. If you like the video, I hope you hit the like button. If you got comments, I'd love to hear them. I'm the first one to say that I'm not always right. I know I'm not right all the time. I'm just trying to share what my thought process is, what I'm thinking about at this moment in time, the type of information that I take in, and then how that's going to impact my actions. So I'm going to keep listing. I'm going to keep growing my eBay store. I'm at 22,000, over 22,000 listings now. My goal for the year of 2020, by the end of 2023, is I'd love to hit 49,999 listings. That'd be exciting. And as always, I hope you enjoyed this. If I can ever be of any help, answer any questions, or reach out to me on Twitter or leave a comment below. I hope you have a great day.